What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk Out of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast that is a proud partner of the Eurostat Podcast Network and the Blue Wire family. Joyfully, I am your host, Numac, coming back to you in your podcast feeds after a 23-20 win as the Packers upset the LA Chargers. I almost did it. Lovely co-host Jordan, how are you doing?
Doing very well, doing very, very well. The Packers won. I like talking about the Packers after a win rather than talking about the Packers after a loss. It can't be beat.
That's me too. I love it. I love it. It was so much fun today as Jordan Love, Jayden Reed, Dontayvion Wicks, even AJ Dillon, and a lot of the others on the offense, and we'll get into the defense as well, just had a phenomenal day. But yeah, that the score sums it up 23-20. Packers come back after going down, I believe it was late in the fourth or midway through the fourth. And just overall, a great game today. Second week in a row where, I guess rather third week in a row, where the offense didn't seem like it was choreful, or I know that we decided that choreful wasn't a word. Laborious.
I think that was an offline conversation.
That was an offline. It was an offline conversation. Choreful, not a word to my chagrin. But regardless, the offense itself just looks good. Sure, they're leaving some things to be desired and not being a perfect offense, but they're young, and at least we're seeing development, right? Like, man, I'll let you get into it, but Jordan Love, 27 of 40, 322 yards and 2 touchdowns today. What'd you think?
First Packers quarterback to throw over 300 yards in 27 games. Kind of says it all right there.
Mm-hmm.
Packers surely needed every one of them because by the end of today, they had one healthy running back on their roster.
We're going to get into it. I'm going to be very sad for like 5 minutes.
Yes, we will. A seance, if you will. Yeah, Jordan Love, again, this is 3 straight games of really showing improved just game managing, making throws, really spreading it out. I thought the poise that we've seen in fits and spurts kind of thing, it's starting to extend for multiple drives. It's not just these glimpses. Yeah, I mean, he had the game ball for a reason, because not just authoring the comeback drive, but I just thought how we've seen, or believe that we've seen, more improvement from the offense the last couple of weeks, or last few weeks, I should say. Jordan Love is at the center of that. It has come, whether there's been Aaron Jones on the field, AJ Dillon, Emmanuel Wilson for a couple snaps. He is the guy, the straw that stirs the drink. Like, he's just making it all work. And I thought, even with some, not the best protection sometimes, even with the Chargers having Joey Bosa get hurt on the first drive of the game, I thought Jordan Love really kind of just stood up and made plays consistently. And again, it just all speaks in the box score today, which thankfully reflects very well on what Jordan Love can do and everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Christian Watson said after the game that, quote, "I just think he's proving us all right about Jordan Love," end quote. So I think it really does matter to the rest of the locker room that he's coming into form and does look so much better than he had during that 4-game stretch. I think this is closer to what Jordan Love will be as a football player. I think he's moving into what he might look like just for however long he plays. But the San Diego defense, again, like, good defense, no turnovers today for the Packers. I don't think they even had like a fumble. Or no, Jordan Love had a fumble, but they got back on top of it. Zach Tom did. But like you said, Joey Bosa going down is unfortunate for the Chargers team, and he was in a walking boot on crutches later in the game, so serious injury for him. But Khalil Mack still had his way at times with Rasheed Walker and Yosh Nijman. So to see Jordan Love stand in there as well as he did today, he had some bad sacks where he should have gotten rid of it or stepped up sooner or just not taken the sack when he did. But man, as far as throwing the ball goes, like we said, 322 yards and 2 touchdowns, 108.5 passer rating. Like that's just good. And I think that the happiest thing that I saw, or I guess the thing that I was the most happy about, was the types of throws he was making today. Like there wasn't a whole lot of deep shots. There was a few, but not too many. And a lot of it was over the middle. They had some throws out wide and like some that are short in the flat, but other than that, for all intents and purposes, it looked really good as to where he was targeting players and what was available to him through Jayden Reed, through Dontayvion Wicks, and through the other receivers like Luke Musgrave and so on and so forth. But I just think that was the best thing to come out of watching Jordan Love's game, was that it just wasn't all deep. I'm looking at his spray chart for the game against the Chargers today, and there's a lot of green over the middle, like
Yes.
between 5 to 20 yards. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ish completions in that middle of the field range that are ahead of the line of scrimmage. Like that's good stuff. That's really where that he should be targeting. And both of his touchdowns, or I guess two of his touchdowns, I should say both because it was both of them. One was 18 yards, the other one was just over 25. So that's good. He's hitting on those semi deep balls. He had two misses deep, one of 34-ish yards and one near 50. So that is obviously something you'd like to see short up. But man, there's a lot of green on this passing chart today, and a lot of it is in the area of the field that we have talked about over the last few weeks that really leads to success from Jordan Love, as evidenced by today's win.
Yeah, I thought it was a kind of synergy where he's making these great throws, certainly in the middle of the field, taking advantage of zone coverages and finding the gaps where receivers are running their routes. I also just thought between what we saw pretty much from every receiver today, every receiver that caught a ball from Jordan Love made plays well after the catch and or point of contact, whatever you want to call it, from a net passing yard angle. Christian Watson, we certainly had talked about him a lot lately. He got off the schneid with at least a touchdown and on a brilliant play design that they talked about after the game that wasn't even in the game plan. It was drawn up by the tight ends coach during the game. Romeo Doubs making some obviously the clinching touchdown, vintage Love Doubs, if we can already say that in the first year that they've worked together.
The hand signal that Romeo Doubs gave Jordan was so pretty. Just like, hey, I'm running right here. Please throw it. And it was it was so good. Like it was just beauty.
We saw him and Love trying to connect to Dobbs on a deep bomb, which is not usually his forte. Didn't work out in that instance, but I thought that was obviously a good connection. Dontayvion Wicks, very, very intrigued by him. I didn't realize he got hurt in the second half and was evaluated for concussion, which again, that's going to be on a short week. We'll have to pay attention to that. But lead receiver in terms of yards today with I believe 93 or 91.
91.
Really good game from him. Tucker Kraft nearly had a touchdown, but really showed off, and really his first couple meaningful catches, right? He hasn't really been on the board or the box score. Luke Musgrave great again, but yeah, I think I'm burying the lead here because it goes into our next kind of big figure of today's game, but I just thought Jayden Reed was kind of the catalyst for just how this offense really looked today and how it was humming for a large portion of today.
Yeah, absolutely. Jayden Reed, 4 catches, 46 yards, 3 carries of 46 yards, so 92 total yards of offense on the day. That's quick maths for you, by the way.
There you go. Leading rusher.
And no small thanks to both Aaron Jones and Emmanuel Wilson going down. We'll get to those again in a minute. We have to have our moment of silence momentarily. But yeah, Jayden Reed has really become a rookie that's shining in this offense. I dare draw comparisons for fear of retribution from the Packers fans community of what happens next year, but eerily similar to how Christian Watson's rookie year went. Like kind of quiet through the first part of the season, had some plays, was mostly being used as a gadget receiver, and then the offense learns how to use him properly, and now he's really coming alive. That's not to say he's still not being used as a gadget receiver on end arounds and things like that, but I think he has the ability for that, just as Christian Watson did last year. But I think they're starting to see the value in him as a pass catcher, in that he's finding the soft spots in the zone, he's finding the soft spots in the man coverage, and is just really playing out of his mind. 4 catches on 6 targets, his long being 19. But I think everybody, at least in the Discord, brief interruption, join the GSPN Discord at gspn.info. It's a lot of fun in there, as always. But just everybody who's in there that was saying, hey, feed Jayden Reed. Like, just keep finding ways to get him the ball. Similar in vein to how we want Aaron Jones fed all the time. Like, I think Jayden Reed is blossoming as one of the premier receivers on this team, and putting his name in there for being the number 1, being the number 2 receiver on this team, and just running away with it. I think today is one of those examples of the games, building off of games he's had in previous weeks, of really becoming that leader, position-wise, I guess talent-wise, in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, I think, again, it's kind of how we talked about the Christian Watson of it all, of getting manufacturing touches to utilize a really good skill set. If you're talking about Christian Watson, which we've seen in more so last year than this year. Jay Reed, on the other hand, we've seen this littered throughout the year, where Falcons game, he gets his first touchdown on a similar kind of jet sweep kind of play, just sees daylight. Granted, a shorter field, but today that rushing touchdown helped by huge blocks. Malik Heath had a couple blocks today, he didn't really show up on the stat sheet outside of having his first catch of the year, but I thought he made some big plays in terms of just his blocking and jumping or freeing up guys like Jayden Reed, and Love making a throw in the fourth quarter to free up I think that was a DPI call on Asante Samuel.
Yep. Yeah, Dontayvion Wicks had I think it was Wicks, not Heath, but I'm not entirely sure. I'll double check.
Wicks was the intended receiver, but Malik Heath chipped.
Oh yeah. Chipped the block on that play. Yes, my apologies.
Yeah.
My apologies.
But going back to Reed, I just thought we've seen this before. We've seen this in moments of okay, we know what he can do in the slot. We know he can do in terms of just give him a good, open field cushion defensively. He'll make plays and find his gaps. Drops have been an issue, but today was nearly a perfect performance in terms of, holding on to the ball, catching the ball, everything like that. I just thought the way that he kind of, it happens on a 36-yard touchdown run or whatever it was, and just jump-started the offense in a very palpable way. It's one of those things where, okay, the Chargers have to react to that, and we have to, we can't just let that slide. And it opened up everything else for Dobbs, Dontayvion Wicks, Christian Watson, Luke Musgrave, everybody just having the field tilted in that way, where how we're talking about okay, do they have a number 1? Do they have all this stuff? It's kind of elevating on their own, where they could go to all these different options, and this is the equal opportunity offense that we have lamented a lot of it working, but it hopefully we can see this as a blueprint of how the Packers can operate in the future.
That same equal opportunity offense that the 2011 Packers had. I'm rehashing. I'm bringing it back. I'm reviving it from the dead. But again, just the most enormous pink Himalayan salt block that you can, that size grain that you can imagine. It has the makings of that type of offense, where you have playmakers at every position that can go out and catch the ball and make plays downfield or explosive plays. That's just the way it's shaping up at the moment. And I think Jayden Reed is going to be a big part of that moving forward. Like he's only a rookie, and he continues to get better. And I think Jordan Love said it in his post game interview that it was evident from when Jayden Reed came in during minicamp, just wanting to get better and being that rookie that is paying attention as to ways he can improve and paying attention to the game plan and is always locked in. And I think we saw that in camp. We saw that just throughout his career thus far this season, that he really is going to be, I think, something special.
Yeah. Again, it's why they drafted him so highly this year, and it's very reassuring to see kind of these rookies really hit the ground running and start to kind of find their feet now, because we're more than halfway through the season. They know the offense. They're getting comfortable. The flashes that we're seeing now, it's starting to gain steam, get consistency. There's surely, as you mentioned, are things to get better with this offense, but I think it helps knowing that in time they can utilize someone like Jayden Reed and just getting him the ball in different ways that can kind of get back to that unpredictability that they want to get out of the offense, because it surely will help them if they keep, putting performances together like this.
Right. And I think this is a good opportunity for us just to transition into the rest of the receivers on this team that did well today. And I think I want to start with the rookies still. Like they just did so well that it's hard to start with anybody else. Look at Dontayvion Wicks, 3 catches on 5 targets for 91 yards. Had so many yards after the catch today. Like you think about averaging 30 yards a catch, that's quite insane. I'm trying to find. I thought I had it from Peter Bukowski, but I must have missed it. I believe it was Peter that reported that Dontayvion Wicks is the first Packers player in quite some time to have 3 catches of 25 yards or more in a game. It might be
Out of track.
I'm trying to find it, but he just had such a. I'm sorry, it's Aaron Nagler. Over the last 45 seasons, Dontayvion Wicks is the only Packers rookie with 3 receptions of 25 yards plus in a game. My apologies. That's per Elias Sports Bureau. So it kind of tracks, given that the Packers rookie receivers haven't really been involved that much in the Favre and Rodgers eras because of the competitiveness, the competitors that they were, and that they've had established receivers there, whether it be Javon Walker, Antonio Freeman, Jordan Nelson, Greg Jennings, Devontae Adams, anybody, James Jones, anybody. There wasn't really anybody, a rookie that was coming and having this type of impact. And so seeing him have that impact right away, especially, now I'm going to trip myself up. He was not undrafted, right? He was
5th rounder.
Yeah, 5th rounder. I was going to call him undrafted for free agent, but that's Malik Heath, who also had his first career reception today.
Yes, he did.
But you go look at Dontayvion Wicks having that impact with Jayden Reed, and it looks so bright for the young guys on this team. That's not even to, I guess we'll talk about Luke Musgrave in a minute, but I guess what did you think of Dontayvion Wicks as, I guess, breakout game today, and just how he's responded this season so far?
24 snaps. I'll tell you that's from PFF. 24 snaps on the day. I'm looking at the stat, 18.2 yards per target.
That's
so
good.
That just shows you when he gets the ball, the guy creates offense on his own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's increasingly becoming too big to ignore. I don't know how they'll get him more snaps. They already have we're looking at Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Jayden Reed. They obviously have Luke Musgrave out there. Dontayvion Wicks is wide receiver 4 right now, but the guy makes plays. He makes big plays on top of that. If he's healthy, and obviously the concussion part is a big, note that we can't forget, but it's not just about getting him more snaps, it's about just utilizing him in the game plan, because,
he needs to be. Yeah.
He needs to be. Like, he certainly has something with Jordan Love already, and they have, we've seen him, and the other thing too, as much as he's, creating offense, after the catch and everything like that, he's a big, fast guy that also generates DPIs. This is the 2nd game this year, maybe 3rd. Obviously, the Falcons game we can go back to, that opening drive where he gets a huge pass interference call go his way.
Right.
And today was even bigger because of just how obviously the time it happened during the game. And it was a 3rd and 20, so it's literally make or break that drive deep in their own field.
Yep.
Yeah, I just thought Wicks really he's what looks like a hidden gem is becoming not so hidden anymore. This guy is legitimately good, and I just want to see more of him play.
Oh, absolutely. I think and to your point about trying to find places for and targets for Dontayvion Wicks, as crappy as it is to bringing this up, I think he just might be taking Christian Watson's targets. He had more targets than Christian Watson today. He had
So he did.
Dontayvion
It's
Wicks
not.
three for
It was
five,
not.
and go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it was very helpful or like easy to see on the during the game.
Oh yeah, I don't think Christian Watson had a target until like the second half. It felt
He
like
had
at
there
least
was the deep bomb that they missed. No, that was down. No,
that
sorry,
was Watson, but I think
that
that
was
was
Watson
second
too.
half.
Yeah,
And so Dontayvion Wicks was getting mixed in early, and it's not to say that I'm happy that Christian Watson is not getting targeted, but I think Dontayvion Wicks is doing a lot more with his opportunities than Christian Watson. He's getting open more. Like I think
with the
that's
hot hand.
right. I think that's as simple as it is he's just getting open more. And it would be nice if all of them could get open and Jordan Love could just pick his fancy if he wants to throw to it on any given play, of course. But that's not obviously the nature of how football works. And good for Christian Watson, 2 catches on 4 targets and a touchdown today on that drawn up play by tight end coach John Dunn. But I think just seeing him get mixed in more and get open more will lead to him getting his targets back. But for now, unless if he can't go, he'll have another week to go get it. But at this point, I'm riding Dontayvion Wicks and Jayden Reed into the future for quite some time now.
Yes. I just yeah. I again, we'll see how that changes going forward in terms of Christian Watson had the touchdown today, and again, great play design, but I don't know. I don't know how it
We're
can't.
having the same thought.
Yeah, production has to be there, and your quarterback is getting better by the week at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how LaFleur and coaching staff kind of handle these snap counts and just it's not even just snap counts, it's the routes that are run.
Yeah.
What play designs are they using these players for? Because Dontayvion Wicks is getting more featured in there, and Christian Watson, we know that they'll do the deep shot every once in a while, but can they do it in a way where it's not just always that, and hopefully, success is there.
Yeah. Touching on Jayden Reed one more time before we move on. I think Mark Sanchez was on the game today, if I'm not mistaken. But he was, for one, this is not the point I was trying to make. Mark Sanchez was not good today.
No,
He
had a lot of weird anecdotes that were like
He called players wrong, like the wrong name multiple times. He said to feed number 1 when talking about Jayden Reed, this is not his number. It wasn't good for Mark Sanchez today. But the one point he did make is that early on in the game, there was a curl route from Jayden Reed up the middle, and Mark Sanchez was talking about how Jayden Reed needs to run faster at his defender and then put his foot in the ground and turn to catch the ball. But he kind of like just didn't go hard before his cut, and that gave the DB an opportunity to break up the pass, which he did. Later in the game, same exact situation and a more crucial spot. I think it was late in the third, and they were driving. Jayden Reed full sprints at his defender and turns around for a curl route and catches the ball for a first down. And that was like the exact thing that Mark Sanchez wanted him to see to improve on his route running, and you saw it plays later in the same game. So that's something that you can just see that someone probably got in his ear on the sideline, told him probably the same thing, and it worked out. So I'm just really, really excited to watch Jayden Reed and Dontayvion Wicks sort of keep going this season and just see how they continue to develop as Jordan Love develops.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Also, shout out Luke Musgrave. He had a big day today. 4 catches on 6 targets on 4 catches. Holy moly. 6 targets, 4 catches for 28 yards. should have had a lot more. Jordan Love missed him over the top down the sideline, and on it,
Yep.
we talked about how he lofts balls so often,
Yep.
and this one was a laser right at Luke Musgrave, and it was just off his fingertips, overthrown a bit. Like that one, he's got to put some air under it. Let him go get it, and just go for it. He should have been running, stumbling, and all the way down into the end zone, but alas, it had fallen incomplete. But still a good day from Luke Musgrave. Tucker Kraft's 2 catches for 32 yards. Man, I think we talked about it pre-pod, but that play where he hurdled and just barely came down out of bounds was pretty. It goes to show you the development potential that Tucker Kraft has just in this offense, and where this offense could be headed if they have a 1-2 punch tight end combo of Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, it was already kind of jarring that he was in the game plan as much as he was. I'm looking at snap counts right here. 28 snaps, 11 routes run.
Please tell me how many snaps Josiah DeGuara had.
1.
That's right. Perfect. This is that. Listen,
Ben Sims, 14.
all due respect to Josiah DeGuara. Like, all due respect. Football player has been a pseudo important part of the team the last couple of years, but watching Tucker Kraft operate in the Josiah DeGuara role, chef's kiss. It just been better. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
So, we already shouted out Malik Heath for his 1 catch. He had 7 yards there. AJ Dillon did good in the passing game today. 4 catches for 32 yards on the same amount of targets. Romeo Dobbs, 5 catches, 53 yards of the touchdown. Like, that touchdown was so pretty.
So pretty.
And it was just...
I don't want to shortchange his performance because he was not just the clinching touchdown, but again, they got the offense going with him
early.
Early.
Like he was the target guy early, and it was weird. It felt like they almost like didn't target him for like at least 2 quarters.
Well, I mean, Reed getting it going and Wicks making plays. Like, I mean, I'm counting it up right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players got at least 1 catch today.
Right. Passing it around.
Yeah, like again, that the thing about how we saw the offense come out today, and it really was a good initial game plan, or the scripted plays and everything like that. It started with Jordan Love pushing it down the field, making plays, making throws.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of got bungled when it was okay. Let's try to factor in Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon running the ball and all that stuff, and
which is weird.
It was weird, and this is not a Chargers defense that is, a run stopping dynamo by any means. But again, things change with how we talk about the running offense for the Packers today, just because 2 of the running backs got hurt. But it wasn't really all that effective.
No.
To start, and I thought a game where Jordan Love is making 40 attempts and has to generate all the offense. I mean, we've seen multiple weeks where that does not lead to a victory. If anything, that doesn't lead to 23 points on the board either.
No, absolutely not.
But now with time, with development, with more chemistry being, generated at Don Hudson Field in the practice center, I like that we can say that, it's such a pass heavy, offense that we've seen today. And it worked. I did not feel like I don't like that or I don't want it to be this way all the time, but I like that they stuck with what worked. It wasn't trying to factor in everything like that. How the Packers played today in terms of getting the ball down the field, spreading it out, everything like that worked against this Chargers defense that, as we went into this game, was not great in terms of just covering wide receivers in general and all that stuff.
Right. No, it was definitely an interesting game plan for sure.
Yes.
Definitely interesting game plan. But it worked out. So I guess let's move on to the rushers a little bit. Was it me Or did you think that AJ Dillon's 29 yards felt like more? Because I look at 29 yards and I was like, man, I thought he had a lot more effectiveness today. He had 32 yards in the receiving game, which I think might be what might be factoring in because he had only 29 yards but had 32 yards in the air. So you put those together, quick math, 61 total yards. And so it
Yeah.
just, I think that might be why I felt that he had a bigger impact in the rushing game today. But 14 carries, 29 yards. Overall, I think a good day for AJ Dillon.
Yeah, I am kind of surprised at that too, the stat line 1429. But I thought the AJ Dillon things that we saw today were it's run out the gut, extend plays, even if it's just 2 or 3 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it was short yardage gains on third downs or stuff like that. It was more kind of not what we saw earlier in the year, like the Raiders
Right.
game or what's another game that he struggled in?
Any of them. Literally any
Any
of
of
them.
them. Maybe the Saints game
The
where
Falcons
it
game.
just yes. Um yeah, again, he was by default that, the most featured running back because there were no other running backs. But I thought AJ Dillon kind of did everything they could to kind of give them a little bit of a, if anything, it was like you could tell by the tempo that they were pushing today, especially as they were stringing long drives, they kind of just needed the the breather plays. That's like how I kind of felt the running plays today, where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's just get a breather
Well, yeah,
for a wideouts.
well, yeah, they ran like pseudo hurry up today, like where they're
They
snapping the
did
ball with like
multiple
20,
times.
25 seconds.
Well, again, it's not even just that. It's we've seen it of it's locking in the defense's coverage,
Mm-hmm.
and they
Yeah,
want to make subs, and
you can't.
you can't. You can't. We can play different, utilize different receivers or sets in different ways, and still have the same guy personnel on the field. I thought that was very smart in terms of just throwing this defense off balance because it did help in terms of what has been a pass rushing or the pass rushers getting home multiple weeks for 8 or 7 in some games. They got home to Love, but they didn't get home to him as often as I was feared
Yeah,
going into today.
no, absolutely. Um, I think it's time to talk about the sadness in our lives. Aaron Jones goes down with what looks like to be a scary injury. Did catch a break though, it seems. They didn't say how long he'd be out. Matt LaFleur said he doesn't think it's going to be long term, something more short term. But then the real sadness in my life, Emmanuel Wilson, just as he was starting to go, I think might be a dislocated shoulder or a collarbone issue of some sort, but on for all intents and purposes, a pretty tame play by NFL standards goes down after a reception, I believe it was for I think for was his lone reception of 9 yards, and just sits down on the ground, starts holding his shoulder, and man, when I told you my heart broke because holy freaking moly, was he like running with some purpose. His first 3 rushing attempts, he had 3 rushes for 12 yards, and every rush looked pretty good in my opinion. Like he ran 2 times in a row, and I think then had like a short gain. But between that and his 9 yard catch, I was like, oh, like this is the succession plan happening right in front of us. Like this is how it's going to be. And of course, I don't want to see Aaron Jones go any more than the next Packers fan, but golly, as if you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that Emmanuel Wilson was my guy in training camp, and I think he was poised, and that's why he was kept on the roster to really be, I think, the succession plan to Aaron Jones. And for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches, it surely looked like that was sort of what was going on. Even Matt LaFleur said so in post game that when he was out there, it looked like Emmanuel Wilson was doing some really good things. And this is building on the really good things he was doing in preseason and over the course of a few carries here and there in the regular season. Like it really makes me sad, like truly sad as a fan of a guy that you really like that he had his opportunity with an unfortunate injured Aaron Jones to go out and do something and prove himself in a game to keep his name in the mix for a roster spot next year, and immediately gets hurt. Like it just stinks. And so here's to hoping it's not a serious injury. He can come back sometime this season to get some more run, but he didn't seem like he was in too good of spirits on the sideline.
Yeah. First on the Aaron Jones thing, he himself said that they avoided serious injury, but is scheduled for an MRI on Monday. He eventually came back on the sidelines during the game before the Packers completed their comeback, and a lot of the guys were saying that they were going to win the game for him, kind of thing. That is, a sigh of relief, but we've also known that just because you miss out on the major injury, there could be a minor injury or whatever else kind of comes back with the imaging. I didn't really think it was going to be a torn ACL, but I kind of thought, based on how he was tackled and kind of just the funky movement with his leg, I thought maybe it was like a sprained MCL kind of thing like that. So
Yeah.
we're not out of the woods yet, I would say.
Yeah.
Amanda Wilson, it sucked.
I have better news. I did a simple Google search. Ryan Wood. This is tweeted shortly after the game. Emmanuel Wilson said his left shoulder popped out of its socket in the first half. Took him back to the locker room for x-rays during the game. He's looking forward to coming back. Quote, I know physically I'm going to be all right. Woo! Let's go, baby. He's back. He's back, baby. Let's go.
We're not going to see him Thursday, though.
We won't see him Thursday, but hopefully more this season at least. Like, if he comes back healthy in a couple weeks and can really just build off of that momentum, 2 thumbs up. That's what I'm looking for.
Yes. Matt Schneidman, if anybody has read his article by now, post-game, it's centered on Aaron Jones of it all and everything like that. He mentions that Patrick Taylor might be signed for the Patriots practice squad to fill that gap.
Really?
So, might see an old friend.
I wonder who they'd cut.
Yeah, we'll see. Don't know if that's sourced or anything like that.
I wouldn't love it, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one running back in the practice squad too. Can you name him?
Yeah, it's the dingus. No, it's not James Robinson. They cut him. I know it.
It's the dingus.
Oh, what's his name?
Ellis Merriweather.
Oh no, we didn't cover him.
He discovered Oregon in 1853.
Like, honestly, I would rather just call up Ellis Merriweather to be the backup to AJ Dillon than to sign Patrick Taylor again, because I think there's a lot of good players. Actually, I lied. You know who they can cut? I almost swore, and Ty would have been mad at me. You know who they can cut to get rid of, or to bring Patrick Taylor in? First play of the game. Literally the kickoff.
First play of the game.
Dallin Levitt.
Oh, yeah.
Dallin Levitt goes... Keisha Nixon brings it back for like 50 yards as a great start to the game, right? Great start to the game. It's like, okay, like, bam, we're moving. Dallin Levitt says, excuse me, no, we're not. Has I believe, a holding penalty, as well as a foul against an official to put them back to the 5-yard line. What should have been a very, very good starting field position. I'm trying to find the actual starting field position because I need to be madder than I am.
30, I think it was the 8.
39 yards. Yeah, so he brought it to the 35-yard line. That's crazy. They started the penalty, looks like to the 8-yard line, which is stupid. So I'm over Dallin Levitt. My relationship with Dallin Levitt severed. Relationship with Patrick Taylor rehashed. If that's how we want to do this. But, because, I mean, like, what else does Dallin Levitt do is my biggest thing. If you're going to have Patrick Taylor back, might as well cut another only special teamer, right? Like,
yeah.
I think that's just the way it has to go. So, that's my humble opinion.
We'll see. We'll see. They're gonna have to cut someone. Clearly, they need a running back, and
I would be just fine if it was down Levitt. But
I
the point being back, like getting back to like the point I was gonna make is that a lot of the players that they could cut are developing and they're having like good games. You're not cutting. You can't cut anybody in the secondary. That would be malpractice. You can't like if they cut Brenton Cox Jr. I'd be very mad because even though he's inactive most games and isn't in like the top 51, why keep him this long if you're just gonna cut him for a guy you already cut, right? Like Patrick Taylor got cut twice, and so why would you cut Brenton Cox Jr. for a guy you already don't want to have around?
yeah,
And are only having him around as for an injury concern. And so, but if you look at like Zane Anderson or Anthony Johnson Jr. or like Ennis Gaines or I mean that's like just
S game got cut.
oh yep my bad he got cut already. They signed somebody else I believe.
Caillou Kelly.
Yeah, they could cut him, but like it's not a secondary. He was inactive today, but what do you do? I don't know. I just think that if you're cutting anybody else, you're hamstringing your development. And I think they won't cut Kelly, the new guy, Caillou Blue Kelly.
Could be DeGuara.
I wouldn't hate that. Jordan with a good idea. You're going to have him.
Snap.
Listen, I wouldn't mind that either. I think those are my top two cut candidates, not to be super mean about it all. But if that's the case, yeah, I think that's who you cut is Down Levitt or Zayaguara.
Yeah.
Guys who are either not playing or having a negative impact on the game.
Yes. Or both.
Or both. So, I think that's all on the offense. I think the offensive line played fairly well today. Jordan Love takes 3 sacks. I think one of those was for sure his fault. I don't think.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack got beat pretty hard, or beat. I think it was Josh Nyman pretty badly one time. Yeah, but other than that, I think they played fairly well. I think the trend of Packers scoring touchdowns when Sean Ryan plays guard has continued. So take that for what you may, if that matters at all, or if that's a correlation causation kind of thing. So, with that being said, Jordan, shall we move on to the defense, who played pretty well today?
Pretty well. Yes, let's do it.
Chargers held to 20 points. Justin Herbert, 21 of 36, 260 yards and 2 touchdowns. Notably, the 2 touchdowns, one of them came from a man named Stone Smart, which is an oxymoron, I believe. Smells smart with 2 T's, which is honestly apropos of the comparison. So the comparison is made. That was a tough play. Jonathan Owens made a horrendous attempt at a tackle. Was the longest play the Packers have let up this season. So that's honestly an encouraging stat that I heard from the broadcast to go through. But yeah, that was the touchdown to make it 7-3, I believe, or 10-3, if I'm not mistaken. But then the other one, Keenan Allen. We were close, Jordan. 10 catches, 116 yards, and a touchdown. Should have had probably 12 catches for at least 130 and 2 touchdowns. But the Packers were thankful for drops today. I think that was the biggest thing, is that the Packers defense played well, but they definitely got bailed out a few times, thanks to the bright sun.
Yes. That the bright sun.
Well,
yes. I'm trying to find a stat as I'm talking here. I should probably just focus on the point that I want to make.
no, you're good.
Yeah, again, we feared a shootout. We feared the Chargers being a really high potent offense. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. That was my guy to watch going into this. He had a woof of a game.
10 carries, 64 yards, a fumble, and 6 yards in the passing game.
And 2 noticeable slips, like on the Lambeau Field.
Can we
the literal Lambeau Field?
Can I make a point quick?
Yes.
The broadcast was so freaking annoying about the slipping on Lambeau Field and about how they know what it is coming in. It's a big factor that the Packers get to play on the Lambeau Field grass every week and that other teams don't. Dog, this this stadium is 100 years old, not literally, like
It's not.
figuratively, but the field itself has been known for years to be slippery.
Yeah.
This isn't a new thing. And honestly, there were two players that had problems today. One of which was Austin Eckler. The
Yes.
only other player that I think that you could have made a argument that had a slight trouble with the field was when Romeo Dobbs blew a tire on that like bubble screen. He was like,
Yeah.
he got like 3 yards, slipped, and then I think it was like a second down or something. But regardless, no one else had the problem. There was no snow, there was no rain, there was no nothing. All it was just Austin Eckler slipping, and that just happens sometimes. It happens all the time, frankly. And that isn't a Lambeau Field issue. That is a Austin Eckler issue because nobody else had problems today. None of the receivers did. Justin Herbert didn't. Jordan Love didn't. That's just a single Austin Eckler problem, and it made me angry. And I'm sorry to interrupt your thought.
Yes.
Just Austin. The I guess I'll continue. Not with this point, but is in general. I think the theme of the defense today was making good plays, limiting receptions, while also getting bailed out. Like, they had a lot of plays they got bailed out on. The first drive, when Donald Parham Jr. just flat out dropped it when there were four cornerbacks in front of him in the box, and he was wide open over the middle. The Sun got him there. Thank you, Mr. Sun.
Sun Ra.
Sun Ra, Amon Ra, Sun God. Yep, all that good stuff. Later in the game, Keenan Allen, same thing, over the middle, drops a pass that hit him
In the end zone.
In the end zone, hit him square in the chest, into the sun. Like, I think that was just all it was, because I think he mistimed it because he couldn't freaking see the ball. So, good spot that way. Quentin Johnson, towards the end of the game, when they finally take a deep shot against Carrington Valentine, he rolls through his hands, hits his knee, and then goes off into the void of wherever that ball went. Like, that's a big drop. Like, there are watershed moments of this game like being way different had those plays worked out. I think if Keenan Allen catches a touchdown, it's then 27-23 as a final.
Yes.
If Quentin Johnson catches that ball in the fourth quarter, he might have gone all the way. He was wide open.
Yes, he was. That was dangerous.
Right. And so, like, then, again, if he catches that, it's 27-23. Packers need to go down and score again. It was, they played well. They didn't play pretty good. They just played well.
It's the bend don't break mantra that they had. I mean, not even just the 6 drops that PFF charted for the Chargers wide receivers today, which is amazing. Did we anticipate the Chargers going 1 for 4 in the red zone?
No. Like,
And that one success was the end, near the end, when they went up 20-16.
yeah.
They got down the field. They did everything possible. They had drops go against their way. They had sacks go against their way, or just incompletions. Like,
They were moving the ball.
they were how we talked about Packers last week against Steelers. That's how they were playing. Yeah, I don't know. We just talked about the cosmic fandom of being a Charger, or liking the Chargers for the preview, but that there are just things that happen.
The Chargers chargered. Like, that's all it was.
It does not make sense, but it does. As sure-handed of a wide receiver that plays today, Keenan Allen, for 3 quarters was not good. Like, he got what he wanted.
A couple. Yeah, you got a couple, but it wasn't a lot of like big plays. There was stuff off to the edge that was getting out of bounds. But then, yeah, in the fourth quarter, he had a couple pretty big plays that kickstarted that touchdown drive.
Yeah, but yeah, I I don't want to give the defense a pass because it shouldn't come down to, well, you only forced a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is, I
That is
wouldn't say
good,
that's always been the case with the defense this year.
right?
There have been games where they've done more than just that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down to it, they've been a good red zone defense this year, and a game like today helps further that cause, even if they didn't necessarily force the issue in that way.
Right. Worth noting, Packers win the time of possession battle 31-58 to 28.2. Offensive plays, the Packers had more plays, 71 to the Chargers 62. I think this is the point we're making. Total offensive yards, the Packers only had 3 more total yards than the Chargers did. 397 to 394.
It was, yes.
Like the Chargers were moving the ball all day long, in no small part to Justin Herbert being able to scramble all day long today. Like that was like, I'm not gonna say triggering, but like I was getting flashbacks to the Russell Wilson, Colin Kaepernick era where they would just thrash us and not be able to contain. But yeah, Justin Herbert 73 yards. He was their leading rusher. So
Yeah.
like it just goes to show his talent. I think I want to go through like the positions a little bit. As we mentioned, the secondary didn't play like terribly. I thought Carrington, Valentine, and Corey Ballentine played fairly well given their matchups. Obviously, they both had a couple of mistakes that were thankfully not cashed by the Chargers offense, but I thought Owens played fine. He had that big missed tackle, but I think he had a couple other plays that were noteworthy. And yeah, I just think they played just fine. Quay was back.
Good to have Quay back, no Jair, and it goes to Ballantyne and Valentine being, there was no rotation. I went into this game maybe thinking, hey, we'll see some snaps from Robert Rochelle. I only saw him on the sideline. I
Yeah.
don't really think I saw him at all.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, that this secondary was pretty locked in, there was no rotation or anything like that. Can't really ask for much more. Corey Ballantyne has actually been kind of impressive to me. I think he's been more steady. Carrington Valentine is very obvious when he, defends a pass or
Yeah.
limits a guy to a very short yardage gain. Or
He's a
anything.
cornerback. He's a cornerback.
Yes, he's a cornerback. He's learned from the Jair Alexander school. But Corey Ballantyne, I think he's made some really good plays, and it's since Razul's been traded, and Jair's been in and out of the lineup increasingly over this year.
Mm-hmm.
We just need kind of a sure-handed guy, even if he's just kind of a, not a glamorous, profile in terms of just being a high draft pick or anything like that of the last couple of years. So, kudos to him.
Right. No, absolutely. Devondre Campbell goes out with an injury. I didn't see him come back in. He might have. I don't think he did though.
I don't think so either.
Hopefully he's okay. Like that. Like this game was a war of attrition when it came to injuries. Man, it sucked.
Yes,
it sucked. JJ Enagbare had a really big play in this game. I think he played well. Rashawn Gary finally gets home and gets a sack when it really mattered late in the game. Like I think they only had 2 sacks, or Justin Herbert only took 2 sacks. Yeah, 2 sacks for 16 yards. One of which was Rashawn Gary. The other was Carl Brooks early in the game. Like
that was
big. Right, it was big. I think it was the first or second drive, if I'm not mistaken. So, like, I'm just a big fan of how the front 7 really got home today. Not got home, but had a lot of pressures. I'm trying to see if I don't have pressures on ESPN's box score, but
yeah, we'll have to wait with PFF data probably.
Yeah, but I thought there was a lot there. Preston Smith had pressures today for sure. Carl Brooks obviously got his. Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark. Like I think there was
Devontae. Oh my God, he was barely down.
In just
Justin Herbert just kind of like
sidestepped him.
Really, yeah, it wasn't even like a juke or like a sidestep. It was like, I would run this angle. That was the one thing that frustrated me, is like there were a lot of poor angles of like, you could have the tackle there and you see, Chargers get a couple more.
For what it's worth, your point earlier, Robert Rochelle had 1 tackle, so he must have played a little bit.
He must have played a little bit, okay.
Yep. Whether that's on special teams or defense, it just says defensive.
That could be it. That might be it.
Yeah, he was on the field today. I'm gonna gush for a second. Lucas Van Ness is a strong man. Do you remember the play when Austin Eckler went off the left end and Quay and Lucas Van Ness were going to tackle Austin Eckler, and Austin Eckler threw off Quay because Austin Eckler is also a very strong man,
Yes, he
and
is.
you saw Austin Eckler trying to like push Lucas Van Ness
I
upfield,
think I know what
and
you're
he
talking about.
wasn't going anywhere. It was a
Yeah.
polite escort to the sideline from Lucas Van Ness to Austin Eckler. He goes, "Yes, you can keep trying to move those feet. You are coming right this way, sir. Thank you." I was like, I had it on my nose. I said, "Wow, Lucas Van Ness is strong," because he like hit Lucas Van Ness pretty square, and he didn't go anywhere, dog. It was really good. So, yeah, I think like they just played well. I think there's obviously stuff to be built upon. They can't play and give up the mistakes they did today against the Lions. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown and company are way more sure-handed and not as mistake-prone as somebody wearing a Chargers jersey is. But I can't have too many complaints today. The front got home like I had been asking the last few weeks. Backers played well. Jonathan Owens led the team in tackles according to ESPN.
I'm not surprised that he led in tackles. I mean, yeah, kind of. We've seen Rudy Ford kind of take that mantle too throughout the game or
Yeah,
throughout the season. Um, yeah, it was really good seeing Quay out there. I thought he made his presence known early on, and then it kind of meandered as the Chargers put together drives. But a lot of the stuff over the middle that was frustrating, Quay Walker could have had not having could have made that even a bigger problem.
hmm
And again, we talked about Austin Eckler being a big factor, and he's having a down year. This is it. There's reasons why it was a down year or down game today, but I thought how we could have feared the Packers getting burned by him, especially, didn't really materialize.
thank God.
Yes.
Thank God. I'm trying just to think of any other players that we should talk about. Kenny Clark, I think although we gave him enough credit, had the big swat at the end of the game to seal it up and finalize the Packers' victory. I think it was either the broadcast or Matt LaFleur, whoever it was. I think it was actually post game in the post game conference. One of the reporters had asked Matt LaFleur about Kenny Clark's like not reasoning. What's the word? What he means to the team, and they even said like, yeah, he doesn't really rack up the stats some weeks, but he's always like there doing his job. And I think that's like
Hmm.
the epitome of today's game. He had one tackle and one pass deflection, and if you didn't know any better, you would just kind of blow it off unless you didn't watch the game. But his pass deflection came at the most important time in the game, and I believe
Yep.
his tackle was a tackle for it wasn't a tackle for a loss in the spreadsheet or in the stat sheet, but I think it was a meaningful tackle from what I remember him being involved. He also forced
Yeah.
the fumble along with Preston Smith. Like
Yes.
he was in there today. He played very well, and so seeing him really come, I guess, come full circle into being a star on this defense is important. He had a lot more, I think, statistical impact in years prior. I'm not sure if you agree with that, but I feel like I'm not too far off with
No,
that.
I think I would say so. It's definitely
Like the sacks have gone down, which isn't a bad thing. Like as long as you can get sacks other ways, but he hasn't been as dominant up the middle to centers and guards getting home as he has in years past.
and his presence alone changes how you scheme blocking. Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about him pressuring quarterbacks necessarily, but if he's getting doubled by a lineman, hey, how does other guys beat one on ones that way? That's kind
Right.
of how I view Kenny in terms of his overall influence on the game. Of you know, you're gonna have to put two guys on him occasionally, or more than occasionally, and see how the other Packers pass rushers can get home.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Daniel Whalen hit an absolute monster of a punt. Today he did really well in the punting game. I think he only had a couple of them. Four punts, my apologies. 193 yards. His long was 61. He had two inside the 20. So good stuff that way, Daniel Whalen.
Do we talk
Andre,
Andres?
we can. So the field goal, I'm not blaming on him. It was
No, that was
long. It was long to begin with, and the intentional grounding after the false start didn't help it. And so
that's right. Yes, yes.
they were slated to give him um, I think it was a 52 yarder. They were slated to give him like 40 ish,
Yeah.
38 in that kind of like middle range, and then a penalty pushes him back, a false start, I believe, on Nyman or Walker. I think it was one of the tackles, and then the intentional grounding on third down when Jordan Love was facing down a sack and just threw it literally straight into the ground. So that miss stinks. He has to stop missing extra points. Like, this is the second game in a
18
row.
for 20. Yeah.
Maybe
Yes.
he has to stop is a little strong. It feels more significant when it's 2 weeks in a row that a missed extra point plays a huge spot in this game.
Yes, because last week they had to score for a touchdown.
Rather than
Lose.
kick a field goal to tie it.
Today they had to score for a touchdown to win. They win.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I will say 82.4% on the season, 14 for 17. I'm looking at the splits right now. All three of his misses have come from 40 yards or more. He's 0 for 2 on 40 to 49 yard.
That's
field
fine.
goals.
I'm fine with him missing field goals that are deep. I have no problem with that. He's a rookie. He's got the leg for it. Getting the aim down was always going to be the point of this season and just the point of his career. Just getting that targeting down essentially. But on extra points, you just have to be automatic. I know it's longer than it used to be, but missing two in this fashion and the way it has to be, it just makes it feel more significant when you can look at the example right here, like, hey, if you make that, this changes the entire complexity of this game.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it just feels a little heavier, right? And so I think he's done well this season. I just want him to make extra points.
He's having a little dip. We're going to continue to trust the leg. And, I saw that.
Alrighty, Jordan. Should we wrap up? Anyone else want to talk about?
I don't think. Let's just hope. Let's hope the Packers are healthy. It's a short week, very short week. I want to see a good game on Thanksgiving. I want to see a good performance. I don't want to see a laugher.
It might be a laugher, but we'll have all of that analysis for you on Tuesday or Wednesday when we come into your podcast feeds with that Lions Packers preview. For now, you have to listen to some promos about the wonderful Eurostep Podcast Network. As always, you can find all our pods at gspn.info. You can find me at Numac is known on Twitter, at Jordan Tresky. For Jordan on Twitter, at WatchGSPN on both TikTok and Instagram. For Bucks news, go visit Ty and Rohan and Jordan Adam on the Bucks feed for Win in 6, or rather Eurostep and Win in 6. Make sure to have the names in the proper orders and all that kind of stuff. The Bucks defense is coming up. Adrian Griffin's still the head coach through apparently a lot of people's surprise. So go check out analysis about all of that because Lord knows that the Bucks are good. They are, I think, 9-4 now after having beat the Dallas Mavericks in a game in which they had led pretty thoroughly throughout the first half and then lost it in the third and then came back in the fourth. So good thing they play 4 quarters in that one. You can go check out all the Brewers news and hate Craig Counsell with the rest of us, just like Adam and Andrew did for cruising it for a bruising. They can also dive deep into the Pat Murphy hire and how he will, I guess, succeed Craig Counsell as well as Ricky Weeks' role in all this as the new, not bench coach, but whatever new
associate manager.
Thank you. So glad to have Ricky Weeks back in the system. He is still yoked. It's crazy. Just the most muscly dude ever. Just thick boy. So really excited to see how Ricky Weeks develops on the bench that way. Like I said, go check out Cruising for a Bruising. And also hosted by Adam and Andrew is Make Time for This. Go check out their episodes on Killers of the Flower Moon and their top 10 Scorsese films. I finally saw Killers of the Flower Moon, and Jesus effing Christ. Go watch the movie, because it's amazing. So is their episode on the movie, by the way. So go watch the movie, and then as you're still processing what you have seen, take a breath, type in "make time for this" into your search bar, and then click the second most recent episode. So, with all that being said, thank you everybody so much for listening. Short week this week. We'll be back in your feeds likely on Wednesday morning, and then we will have TBD for how we're recording on Thanksgiving Day in that episode. So stay tuned.
Could it be recorded inside of a turkey? I don't know. We don't know.
Inside of a turkey. He said, stuffing inside there? No, it's talking the Tundra.
It's talking the Tundra. It's a blue snowball.
Alrighty, folks. Like we said, thank you for listening. And Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.